Hi, my name is Drew, and I'll be presenting my final topic for PSY 45A on mental health, since this is the area of study that coincides with my academic and professional goals. For many centuries, the human mind has captivated and befuddled many through the complexity of thought, memory, perception, and behavior. These elements make up the fundamental idea of mental health as we understand it today. Increased awareness of and interest in mental health over the last several decades has produced a greater understanding among professional practitioners of the influence upon one's mental wellness. These influences include a person's social interactions, problem-solving abilities, methods of coping with stress and anxiety, and one's worldview or spiritual beliefs. The numerous areas of mental health provide a multifaceted approach of the understanding, treatment, education, and preservation of healthy mental functioning of individuals in order to lead a fruitful and enjoyable life. Mental health consists primarily of the conditions of the mind, such as emotion, thought, and mood, and the behaviors associated with these conditions. So the well-being of one's health essentially influences how one feels, thinks, and behaves, as well as determining one's ability to manage stress or anxiety, make appropriate decisions, and interact well with others. Many people believe that mental distress or illness only affects those who have a history of mental illness, have experienced trauma, or have a biological predisposition. But in fact, mental health affects everyone in various ways. Although all people experience forms of mental distress, certain factors influence the effect of the experience, such as intensity and duration of the distress, and how one learns to cope or lessen the effects. Similar to physical health, a proactive approach to understanding one's mental health or mental condition, along with preventative methods and treatments to lessen their effects or symptoms, may offer helpful solutions to maintain one's mental health and wellness. Because of the numerous varieties of conditions and influences that affect mental health, the areas of study and treatment also vary. These areas generally begin with the outpatient services such as community clinics, schools, and private practices that focus on short-term care and as-needed services. Then extend to inpatient care at psychiatric facilities for more severe cases and long-term care. Areas of mental health that generally require short-term care include mild to moderate anxiety and depression, trauma and stress, and behavior or mood problems. The areas of mental health that generally require longer-term include severe anxiety and depression that may lead to suicidal thoughts or attempts, severe trauma and stress that affect one's daily functioning, and psychotic disorders that restrict one's ability to discern between fantasy and reality. These areas encompass several definable mental health conditions and diagnoses that help practitioners to identify appropriate treatments of care and care for individuals who exhibit specific symptoms. The symptoms a person experiences often point to either a general or specific mental health condition or diagnosis. These conditions vary depending on the severity and duration of symptoms, as well as differing from one person to another. Some examples of mental health conditions and diagnoses include disorders that affect one's mood, such as bipolar disorder, and one's perception of thought and reality, or psychosis, such as schizophrenia. The National Alliance on Mental Illness website describes bipolar disorder as a mental condition that produces significant fluctuations in a person's mood, vitality, and clarity of thought. The primary symptoms of bipolar disorder include recurring periods of mania or hypomania that often cause impulsive and risky behaviors, and periods of debilitating depression. On the more severe end, the psychotic disorder schizophrenia produces distortions in reality and thought that include hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. While some mental health conditions result from biological or hereditary influence and have no permanent cure, psychology professionals have created numerous treatments that reduce the negative effects or intensity of symptoms. However, although mental health professionals and services offer these treatments, Furnham and Swamy state that many people with mental health conditions often do not seek any type of medical treatment. Treatments for mental health conditions include medication, along with types of cognitive, behavioral, and psychosocial therapy. Because one's needs may differ from another's, professional treatment teams work with individuals to develop a plan that supports appropriate treatments that may include therapy, medication, educational programs, or other supports. One of the most significant influences upon a person seeking help for a mental health condition includes the negative stigma or reputation related to those with mental illness and mental health services. Sartorius states that these stigmas also make community and health decision makers see people with mental illness with low regard, resulting in reluctance to invest resources into mental health care. This attitude often results in discrimination that limits the types and qualities of care for individuals, as well as an unfair disadvantage for individuals in recovery to find employment or education. As previously stated, mental health affects all people, including those who may judge others based on uncontrollable circumstances. The greatest defense against negative stigmas rests in the consideration of a person's value and the burden he or she has to bear. As Jesus acknowledged in John 8:15, "You judge by human standards, I pass judgment on no one." Despite the negative stigmas, maintaining good mental health begins with a personal commitment to following positive behaviors and avoiding potentially damaging situations. A healthy mind supports a healthy body, which promotes increased self-esteem, confidence, adequate rest, and a greater ability to prepare for challenges rather than merely reacting during time of crisis. Good mental health also allows a person to experience a healthy social life through positive interactions with others, as well as establishing invaluable social supports. Perhaps most importantly, good mental health provides the opportunity for a person to accomplish the daily life activities and goals that help define his or her purpose and bring meaningfulness to life. From a psychological perspective, mental health is the cornerstone of psychology and perhaps the ultimate goal of the entire professional organization. From the establishment of psychology as a science, and likely as far back as the initial attention to behavior as an effect of mental processes, mental health has characterized the goals of psychology through helping individuals overcome mental illness and lead fulfilling lives. The theological perspective very closely resembles the psychological perspective in many areas, as God calls believers to help the weak, as Romans 15:1 and 2 agrees. We who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up. Additionally, Schwab supports that spirituality produces a greater awareness of and direction towards one's purpose as a part of something greater than his or herself. This awareness of purpose that spirituality produces supports mental health by instilling a sense of equanimity or emotional stability and calmness during times of stress or strain. My professional goals include establishing an internet-based therapy and counseling program to provide mental health treatment to individuals that have difficulty meeting face-to-face. Landrum and Davis state that psychology is one of those professions for which an additional professional degree is required to practice the craft. Since my goals center on practicing therapeutic care, my educational options must include graduate school. I recently began the application process with Colorado Christian University for their master's degree program in counseling, which, when completed, will allow me to become a licensed counselor and begin to pursue my career goals. With a bachelor's degree in psychology, my career options include many occupations related to mental health, as well as other not directly related, such as management, teaching, and sales. However, following my goal to obtain a master's degree in psychology-related program, my career options more closely relate to mental health. The options available with a professional degree in psychology include school guidance counselor, military counsel, social worker, and mental health counselor, all of which involve direct care to individuals. This is the career path that agrees with my sense of purpose and calling from God to help others. Whether a more severe mental illness or mild temporary distress, good mental health practices improve one's ability to cope with challenging symptoms each may present. Since mental health involves how one feels, thinks, and behaves, a positive and practical approach offers a greater likelihood of improved self-esteem, cognitive function, social interactions, and most importantly, a sense of confidence and assuredness towards overcoming difficulties and leading a meaningful and satisfying life. Incorporating faith into one's mental health also provides hope, as the Apostle Peter assures in 1 Peter 5:10, "And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast." Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed.